Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about warfare and how it might advance in the next 50 to 100 years. So let's start off with firearms, the simplest and most widely used weapons available. One advancement that is possible right now, but I could see becoming more popular, is fingerprint activated weapons. These firearms would read the user's fingerprint and fire only for authorized people. This feature could also apply to groups, so you have squad members, all of them would be registered in this device, and if anybody else picks it up and tries to use the gun, they'd be unable to. The next idea, which these also technically exist, they're just very rare, but they're ammo counters. Basically, something that count how much ammo you have left, and they'd be placed near the sight or the scope, so the shooters can track the remaining rounds without relying on memory during combat. And then we have caseless ammunition. This is ammo and not the firearm itself, but still, they go hand in hand. Basically, the idea of caseless ammunitions is because you wouldn't really need brass casings and make the cartridges lighter and potentially increase the rate of fire. So that's something that's coming down the pipeline. We also have ideas like smart ammunition, where the bullet would slightly change its trajectory to hit a target or even send information about what it just hit. So like, if you're trying to hit somebody, you hit a rock or something, firearm might tell you, hey, you hit a rock or something along those lines. So we know that certain weapons have lock-on features, but we may see that more often in normal firearms as we introduce technology like AI that can lock on somewhat to targets before you fire. Last but not least, for the firearms section, we have coil-based weaponry. Right now, modern firearms use gunpowder or sometimes smokeless powder ignited by flint. And basically, this ignition causes gases that propel the bullet forward. Now, I predict that firearms will eventually shift to this coil-based propulsion instead. Basically, that's an electromagnetic, launcher that accelerates the conductive projectile through a series of coils through the barrel. Now, this would require the firearm to have a battery that you would occasionally have to recharge or replace. So there's that. It is another element of maintenance to the firearm that wasn't there before. Another option is a pulse rifle style system that uses electronic pulse action mechanism to ignite the primers and send electrical pulse through the mechanical firing pin. This will allow for much faster firing rates and reduced jamming. So think aliens, they had the pulse rifle that they were firing. So that's the last part of the firearm section. So let's move on. Moving on to laser technology. You're gonna hear me repeat myself a lot in this video, but we have something like this already today. We already have systems that can fire lasers, blind sensors from different equipment, even blind people, intercept missiles, and even destroy drones. So this exists, just it's not used at that high of a capacity because it's still expensive and takes a lot of energy to build and maintain. But the US Israeli tactical high energy laser was used to shoot down rockets and artillery shells before being canceled in 2005 due to bulkiness, high cost, and poor expected battlefield performance. So like I said, that already exists, and over the next century, this technology will improve. Some concepts even propose launching laser weapons into space. We also have them in the form of firearms as well. Something like an electro laser that first ionizes the target and the whole pathway and then sends an electric current down the conducting track of ionized plasma. This would be somewhat like lightning. It would function as a high energy, long distance taser. So that the concept exists. I was able to find research on that. Same thing like something called a dazzler, which is a directed energy weapon intended to blind and disorient people. Dazzlers emit an infrared or invisible light against various electronic sensors and even visible light against humans. So like I said, it does blind people. So let's move on to railguns. Now, a railgun is a system that consists of two conductive rails and a projectile. When a powerful current is passed through the rails, it generates a magnetic field that accelerates the projectile forward. So it doesn't have several coils in it. Like you see with coil guns, it doesn't need that part, but it is a lot more firepower. It's a lot more recoil involved with that. This process allows railguns to achieve velocities of several kilometers per second. So basically they reach Mach 6 or 7. So 7 times faster than the speed of sound. As I said, it's a lot more firepower involved here. Now, the US did have a railgun on our Navy ship, and they discontinued it, but they began testing again. The advantages here is higher range, higher velocity, reduce the reliance on explosive ammunition, so we don't have to like keep building more missiles and bombs. It's a lower cost per shot compared to missiles. So some missiles cost millions of dollars just to make, whereas the railgun doesn't cost nearly as much. The disadvantages here were barrel degradation. So I guess with the amount of firepower each of these shots had, it quickly wore down the barrel it was coming out of. Power requirements, as I said before, it's a massive amount of power needed. And then they were worried about firing limitations. So consistent performance. You fire it once, you hit the same spot. Can you hit the same spot more than once, I guess? And they were having trouble with doing that. And I think advancements over the course of the next 100 years will make them much more manageable. The power sources will become smaller. I don't really see them being portable with firearms. I think that's going to be solely left to coil-based weapons for that, but at least for tanks, perhaps, or on bigger vehicles like bombers or something, you might see them. But yeah, that's it. For now, militaries around the world seem focused on hypersonic missiles, which we'll get to right now. They're becoming a lot more common. They already exist. Basically, they're fast enough by the time they're fired and you detect them, they're basically about to hit their target. It's too late to really stop them. Now, there are defense systems that are available that are up and coming, but it's been a relatively new phenomenon. Maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, they started becoming popular. So massively hypersonic or hypersonic is about Mach 5. So that wraps up that topic. Now we have drone warfare. So we've seen in the war of Ukraine that drones are advancing way quicker than anyone could have thought, and they'll likely become smaller over time, possibly being used for spying, sneaking into areas smaller like dragonfly or even bug-sized drones. They're generally cheaper. They can be connected via fiber wire so they can't be jammed or hacked as easily. Operators can scan or scout mid to long range, look ahead in the battlefield. You can attach explosives on them and have them fly up to people and explode. So they're becoming quite useful, and they'll only become more useful over time. So now we have space warfare. While placement of weapons of mass destruction in space is banned, I think conventional weapons, lasers, and spy satellites aren't. So we could see space bases, anti-satellite missiles, which already exist, fighters and bombers that can fly into space, just like actually spacecraft, like Starcraft. From I guess Star Wars, Star Trek, or anything like that. So that's possible for that to happen. There's even ideas of putting electromagnetic catapults on the moon and launching asteroids or bombs at targets and hitting them from the moon. So that'd obviously be really hard to. You might be able to defend yourself from the projectiles, but it'd be hard to actually stop that once it's been built because you have to fly away to the moon and go stop it. So those are some ideas I found. Next topic here is remote controlled robots. Now, we've all seen the unsettling videos of humanoid robots running around, picking up objects. You have like the dog drone or whatever running around with a turret on its back. I do see that there'll be some pushback against AI eventually. There already is today, but I don't think it'll be used in warfare like that without any kind of supervision. So I do think it'll be like controlled by humans, or at the very least have some human oversight. I cannot see them being completely like iRobot or Terminator or anything like that. Same thing with like AI generals that will be utilized to make tactical decisions on the battlefield. You have humans obviously involved in that process. I can't see a scenario where people just leaving things to robots unless they're just that dumb. So, and the last thing we have, we're coming toward the end of the video here, we have real world force fields. Now, the ones we've seen in sci-fi, I don't think we'll see them for like another 50 years, but we do have some systems available. We have gonna have this crowd control denial system. It kind of uses heat energy to create this powerful barrier that can repel individuals without causing permanent injury. But I don't think it's powerful enough to stop, say, a tank shell. I think it would just stop a person. So not quite what we imagine in sci-fi. We have electric armor. So basically you put on the armor. It has a bunch of super capacitors in it. And whenever you need it to, it'll make like a very, very brief, powerful pulse that will repel incoming projectiles. That's still completely experimental and not like a permanent shield. So last but not least, we have plasma shields, and basically making like a dense plasma layer to block radiation or lasers. So this would only really work against laser-based weapons. It wouldn't really work against the traditional kinetic weapons like firearms that we discussed earlier. So I think a realistic force field would be a combination of two or more of these technologies. One for plasma to block lasers, and the other, it being more like what we discussed earlier, causing humans not to come close, and combining the two to block both kinetic and laser-based weaponry. And then one last thing, this is like post-editing, is power armor or body armor. Now, it may not be an Iron Man suit or a Gundam or Megazord like you would imagine, but it'd be more like maybe a specialized suit that makes you a bit stronger, more like an exosuit that gives you some defenses, maybe some automatic regeneration to some extent. It can kind of stop you from bleeding to death and whatnot. So I'm not going to go too in depth with that because most of what I see is just fake. So there are ideas to make it, but there's not that much information on it out there. That's everything. I think shields will come about at some point. In review, that's what I think military technology could look like by the year 2126. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video.